Morning, everyone. Well, we just had the Quebec election, and I wanted to look at the news coverage kind of leading up to that election, and I wanted to compare it to Ontario's news coverage because I think it's interesting. So, well, here it is. So, way back in April, polls show Liberals CAQ tied. All right, so CAQ, Liberals 30% each. All right. Moving ahead, September 20th, Quebec election, Liberals break away from CAQ with 7-point lead. Wow. So I'm assuming there's, and I don't speak French fluently. I've got Duolingo. I'm working on it. But I'm assuming that, there's newspaper articles and all sorts of crazy stuff talking about all sorts of stuff all summer, talking about, each party edging the other one out. For winning or whatever. Okay, so the Crop Online survey conducted September 12th to 17th for Cogeco Media gives the Liberals 37% overall support, followed by the CAQ at 30%, and the Parti Québécois trailing a distant third at 16%. Quebec Solitaire polled at 14%. While the survey's overall results are bad news for the CAQ, the poll points out that the party remains in first place with Francophone voters. Okay, so that's 12 days before the election, give or take. And so, up in the air, right? It's, who knows? 7 points ahead, though. 12, not too long before the election. That's a dangerous bellwether. You're thinking, oh, we're in shaky ground here, right? So there's the result. And we know the CAQ won a majority, but on September 25th, CAQ Liberals in dead heat, Ipsos poll. Dead heat. Dead heat implies like they're tied, right? So ahead of Quebec's election, polls indicate François Legault's CAQ is close to winning a majority. Yeah, close to winning a majority. Okay. It says the CBC Quebec poll tracker, an aggregation of all publicly released polling data, suggests that the CAQ sits at 31.8% support, and that puts it narrowly ahead of the Liberals, who have 30.1% support. Okay, so I went to have a look at the poll tracker. So it's got the CAQ at 32%, the Liberals at 29%, Parti Québécois at 19%, and so on. But it's got the seat projections here. And the seat projections are really clear, like really, really clear. The Liberals don't have a huge path to victory. Like, where are their seats? 55? Yeah, even so. But so a probability of winning on election day, and this was last updated October 1st, right in the morning, right? So why continue updating it after that? So they're predicting correctly that a majority government is going to win, but it's still a coin toss, right? 48%. That's not a clear majority, and the result seems to me it is a clear majority. Like that doesn't look like a coin toss victory. That doesn't look like New Brunswick. That was a coin toss victory. I'll give them that. That was, almost bang on. But this isn't that, and they're reporting this, so that's strange to me. In moving into Ontario, so if anybody goes back to Ontario, so May 23rd, the Maclean's Pola Ontario poll, only the NDP is gaining support. Wow, that's crazy. May 23rd, and only the NDP is gaining support. So every other party is staying the same or losing? Yeah, wow, look at that. Wow, right? 37% in Popular. That looks like a really close election, doesn't it? And Maclean's does everything in their power to push you to NDP. So the Maclean's Pola Ontario election poll, NDP and PC's in a dead heat. That's June 3rd, 3 days before the election. A dead heat, really? Wow, that seems like it's going to be tight, like it's going to be really close, right? Maclean's poll, Ontario election poll, shows Doug Ford and Andrea Horwath in photo finish. This is June 6th, the day before the election on June 7th. Photo finish. My goodness. It could go either way. Socialism or capitalism. Man, I don't miss looking at those. I started my channel during this election, and I went and saw Andrea Horwath. And yeah, man, it was as fun as you would imagine it being. You should watch the video. But anyway, the Maclean's poll, Ontario poll shows a photo finish. Yeah, sure, right? Okay. This is all Maclean's because, it's all, I actually specifically went through Maclean's because their headlines were crazy. So Maclean's is pushing you or shaming you if you want to vote for Doug Ford. Quote, if you vote for a reckless politician, you can't claim to be a good person. Right? Thank you, Maclean's. You shame us good. You shame us good. You're not a good person if you vote for Doug Ford. You can't claim to be. No way. Doug Ford, chaos candidate. Okay. Sure. Fire and brimstone, fire and brimstone. This is from the Globe and Mail and published on March 27th. Doug Ford and the politics of anger. This is from the article. Only two strongly conservative leaders have been popular in Ontario, Mike Harris and Stephen Harper. Now Doug Ford wants to be the third. You see what they're doing there? Mike Harris is one of the most historically unpopular politicians in Ontario. Hated almost, some would say, in some circles. And Stephen Harper soundly lost the last election to Justin Trudeau. I think he wins any election against Justin Trudeau today, but in 2015, he soundly lost that election, and people really didn't like Stephen Harper. So he's trying to tie Doug Ford with these two other really hated guys. Like, by using the names together, that's what they're trying to, they're just the same. They're all three the same kind of people, and they do that with Trump, too. I'll show you. But anyway, back to the article. Now Doug Ford wants to be the third, which prompts a question: how is Mr. Ford like the former premier and the former prime minister, and how is he different? And they explore the imagined differences. I'm not going to go through it because it's ridiculous. Okay, Doug Ford is a populist, but it's not yet clear what kind. I wanted to show this because I thought it was kind of funny and crazy. So, okay, to the article, quote, but not being Donald Trump isn't particularly a useful measure of a political leadership. And what links Ford and Trump is arguably more interesting than what sets them apart. Put simply, both Trump and Doug Ford are populists. Though the label is often thrown around a bit loosely, Dutch scholar Cas Mudd has defined populists as, quote, those leaders who split society into two homogenous and antagonistic groups, the pure people on the one hand and the corrupt elite on the other. On those grounds, Doug Ford is the very definition of a populist, having explicitly positioned himself against the elites and for the people. There's even a song. Right. And okay, so here's the dictionary definition of populist from Google. Populist, a member or adherent of a political party seeking to represent the interest of ordinary people, a person who holds or is concerned with the views of ordinary people. And then it says a member of a populist party, a U.S. political party formed in 1891, which doesn't really relate here. So cherry picking this Dutch scholar's definition of populism or populist as two homogeneous and antagonistic groups, pure people on one side and the corrupt evil on the other. I mean, sure, if you want to fit him into that category, I guess. But if you take 5 seconds and look up the definition of populist and most people's understanding of it, yeah, Doug Ford's a populist, and he is concerned with the interest of ordinary people, and most people like that about their politicians. So, yes, I agree that he's a populist, and your definition of populist, CBC, is ridiculous. So, get Google. So, here it is. Toronto Star, Doug Ford is a polarizing politician seen by his supporters as a charismatic leader full of folksy charm. So using these polarizing words and trying to make his supporters look folksy and backwards. Sure, guys, thanks. HuffPo, the Doug Ford, Donald Trump comparisons roll in after Ontario PC leadership win. And just in case you think that the Trump comparisons are limited to Mr. Ford, they're not. Here's an article from CBC on October 10th of 2017. Ontario Liberals accuse PC leader Patrick Brown of Trump-style politics. So, sure, if you're a man, according to the Ontario Liberal Party in 2017, and in politics, you might as well be Donald Trump. You're that evil. So, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Patrick Brown, he's no longer the leader of the Conservative Party, and he's running for mayor of Brampton. So, there you go. So, here's another fun, just more fuel for our fire of the media is trying to herd you into a direction like, oh no, totally, Andrea can totally win this. So this was posted on May 23rd. Commentary: a Horwath majority is the best way to stop Ford. So they've positioned Ford as this evil person who needs to be stopped, and then they're herding you to do that by voting for Horwath, I guess, while at the same time vilifying Ford. Here's another one. Andrew Horwath is adamant she won't make a deal with the Liberals. Can we take that promise seriously? If we vote for her, is she really going to look out for our best interest, or is she going to partner with that evil Win lady? And they say, no, she'll look out for us. Of course they do. The Toronto Star again. This was May 20th. For Ontario voters, Andrea Horwath may be just right. May 20th is right when she was peaking. She peaked like 2 weeks too early, right? Thank God. But, and I mean that, with the utmost respect. really that she didn't win, because Ontario would have been in a lot of trouble. But Ontario and having newspapers report like this, and sure, report the rise in the polls, but saying that, voting for her is what you need to do to stop Ford, and voting for her is going to give her a majority. And this is when she started lagging in the polls. It didn't take long, really, 2 or 3 days of people actually looking at her policies, and people kind of stopped listening. But that didn't stop them printing newspaper articles about it. And so that this is quote, NDP faces tougher scrutiny as Andrea Horwath rises in polls. And here's the poll tracker, and I watched this really, really, really closely. So they've got the PCs at 38.7% popular vote, the NDP at 35.5% popular vote, but the seat tracker was never, ever, ever close. And the NDP with even 60 seats as a max, we needed a 63 for majority, I believe, in Ontario, or is that could be Quebec? Hold on, I'm going to check how many seats we need. Yeah, I was right, 63. So, the NDP were never in majority territory, but if you were reading the newspapers, they're in a dead heat, and the dead heat they're talking about is popular vote polls, but that doesn't matter. In our system, it doesn't matter. Popular vote is secondary to seats. Seat counts matter. And in Ontario, the election could have been called at any point during the campaign, and it would have had a very similar result. Even on the 20th, if it had been called on May 20th, the NDP may have gotten more seats, but it would have still been a PC majority, and it would have still resulted in the decimation of the Liberal Party. And maybe that's just the newspapers need something to write about, so they use this as a wedge to sway voters. But make no mistake, they are trying to sway you. If you want to be a good person, you're not voting for Doug Ford, right? If you vote for a reckless politician, you can't claim to be a good person. Really, Maclean's? You're the authority on good people? I saw Paul Wells' interview on Twitter. Is he a good person? Did he vote for the correct candidate, Maclean's? So be aware of your media, guys. They are trying to influence you. They are purposely pushing you to believe something that is not necessarily true. What else are they pushing us to believe that is not necessarily true? I've got a Faith Goldie video coming up that I was going to include in this, but it's big all by itself. So look forward to that. And thanks for watching. And peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Thanks.